Hey, AP Language. I am noticing a trend as I read through your essays, and that is many of you still need to spend quite a bit of time with these descriptive writing tips. And on a bigger level, I'm still seeing a lot of essays where I don't see the writer's point of view. It feels like school has sucked that out of you and taught you to not share your point of view, and it just kind of reads as a list of information. That's not engaging, that's not evocative, that's not going to say to a reader, I have a truth or an experience or identity that I need to wrestle with. Personal writing needs to have, purposeful language, and some of you are still, it feels just kind of there. So let's talk a little bit about these descriptive writing tips. First, include details. I notice some of you still are kind of lacking all details altogether. So better to have too much than nothing, but then the other extreme, which happens from all of those years of teachers saying, please include descriptive details, like I'm saying right now, but then you just include whatever details pop into your head without considering how the details help achieve your purpose. So make choices. Maybe you do dump a giant paragraph about one sunset moment on the page and then go back and go, wait, I don't need this or this or this. But much cleaner is keep it simple. I stood on the dock, the sun setting over the lake. I watched the reds and oranges turn to pinks and purples before the sun disappeared for the night. I stood there for a while in silence. Just as the first star appeared in the sky, I thought, I think I'm okay. I don't know what the whole context is, but I have a feeling this is somebody who was not very observant before, and for them to observe at the end would emphasize their point. The next thing is adverbs. I know many of you are very fond of adverbs, where you end words with an ly, where you describe how someone did something. Try not to overdo adverbs. So instead of, I'm leaving, I said angrily, you can say, I thumped my hand on the desk. I'm leaving. The difference is this is an action that describes how you did it versus telling us angrily. And this is more evocative. It's more specific. It's more visual. It gives us the facts of the situation in a descriptive way rather than the vague emotion. And this is so subjective. People could imagine anger in a million different ways. Here, it's crystal clear. You know about how angry. It's not I slammed my hand on the desk so hard I broke it. It's not I gently raised my fist in the air and shook it. It's a very specific kind of image that gives us a real clear idea of how angry this person is. So avoid adverbs. Use adjectives. Don't use adverbs if you can. They're not terrible, but as much as possible, see if you can work them out. Another good example, instead of he enthusiastically hugged me, see if you can try something like he hugged me, an embrace that made the world disappear. That captures that sense memory, that feeling of what it feels like to be hugged, which is very different than enthusiastic, which could mean a million different things. And then this is a big one, is to try to avoid evaluative adjectives. So adjectives that put value on things, that are evaluating the quality of something. So instead of describing something as beautiful, just say what it is, reds and pinks. That implies beauty, but it's much more specific and we can see it, and it's more effective at creating that. You're telling us to see beauty here that we can't see. Here you're just showing it to us and letting us see the beauty. Instead of I had an amazing time, which really doesn't mean that much. One person's amazing is very different than another person's amazing. It's also kind of a word that's overused now to the point where everything can be amazing and then nothing's amazing. Instead, try to narrow down what was amazing about it. So to say I felt full and complete is a sense of how you feel in your body and in your mind. The sense of earlier maybe someone described themselves as feeling empty, so it's kind of figurative language. But to say it was awesome or great or good or wonderful or bad, it was terrible, it was hard, these are so subjective that they don't actually explain what you're trying to explain. If you say Grandpa was great, I'm like, okay, I don't really care. But if you say Grandpa was the kind of person that lit up a room with just a smile, immediately releasing any of that interpersonal family tension that we feel but don't acknowledge, we know that. We've all felt that interpersonal tension. In fact, I would even, I'm going to do this right here in front of you. I think we can make this better. Immediately releasing any of that with just a smile, making my aunt stop ranting about Facebook conspiracy theories and my dad complaining that the grill isn't hot enough. Man, that's really cliche and stereotypical family. But it still at least evokes something, right? All right, and finally, I think this is one that a lot of you are still struggling with, is what's your point of view? And how you describe things. Now, if you don't describe things, if you don't do any descriptive language, then there's basically no point of view because we don't have any sense of how you feel about anything. But here, you can see how describing something in a particular way shows how you feel about it. For example, my father drank a lot. Doesn't say much. I don't know how you feel about that. A lot is a vague sort of quantity that's relative to other things. Somebody's a lot could be 3 beers, somebody's a lot could be 10. Try my father drank. This is from, by the way, an actual essay, professional essay, Scott Russell Sanders essay. I didn't write this. My father drank. He drank as a gut punch boxer gasps for breath, as a starving dog gobbles food, compulsively, secretly, in pain and trembling. Now you might be like, wait, those are adverbs. You said not to do that. The thing is, the gut punch boxer and the dog gobbling for food is so evocative, it's kind of earned the compulsively, secretly, in pain and trembling. We've got the emotional words, but if it was just he drinks compulsively, secretly, in pain and trembling, it's pretty good. Trembling is a very evocative word, but with the narrative bit before it, the images that paints, it's earned the description of compulsively and secretly. Next, I touched down on the U.S. soil for the first time in my life in an orange blazer and with a new haircut. I don't know how you feel about that situation. Somebody rewrites this. I touched down on the U.S. soil for the first time in my life in an obnoxious orange blazer and a mushroom haircut. So by describing the blazer as obnoxious and the haircut as mushroom, we now know that this person feels self-conscious. They don't think that the orange is cool. They think it's annoying, but they're wearing it anyway because maybe it's all they got. And the mushroom haircut is a judgmental word. I mean, it is literally the shape of the haircut, but by describing it in a way that we associate with as a negative thing, you don't want your hair to look like a mushroom, it immediately says that this person felt ashamed and self-conscious. So how you feel about the description, how you feel about the subject is revealed in the way in which you describe it. So to wrap up, in conclusion, don't say that in your essay. Descriptive writing tips include: pick your details carefully. Avoid ly adverbs for the most part unless you have a particularly good reason to use one. Avoid evaluative adjectives that put a value on something like beautiful, amazing, great, bad, hard, and instead describe with specific concrete details. And then use your description to reveal your point of view. How do you see the world? How do you see your experience? Describe it in a way that tells us how you feel about it. Include the details up here that show us how you feel. So including the color of the wall doesn't matter unless it's a particular sickening color or a beautiful color that in that moment, the rosy red wallpaper made you feel warm and safe. Whatever that might be, show us how you feel. How do you see the world? This is writing with a point of view.